Ilarion and I were talking on the phone earlier today, and while we were talking, I could hear machinery outside my apartment. And so when we stopped, I went outside and looked at them cutting down the 5 trees that line this side of our very long apartment building. And um, as I watched them, I was thinking like no ceremony, no, we're destroying these 5 living beings, very mature, and they're not sick. They weren't they weren't in anybody's way. It's just that somebody somewhere determined that they didn't want those trees there, and so um, they didn't consult us, they didn't ask us, they didn't even tell us. And I felt robbed of an opportunity to mourn. Even if they said, okay, we're going to cut the trees down next week, I would have gone out and touched each one, you know. And um, part of me started to get mad. And then it's like, and what good would that do? Would that bring the trees back in any way? Um, and so I still may go out and do a little mourning and spread a little tobacco around, and but it's um, par for the course. It's typical of the breaker consciousness that doesn't knit anything with anything else. Okay. And I pass that on to you to encourage you to be that much more conscious when it's time for you to do something that affects the web of life. Um, and Ilarian, since you and I didn't say anything about this earlier, I don't know if you want to say anything about that, but you're welcome to if you wish. Um, okay, so what we did talk about was something that happened earlier, um, about a week or so ago. Um, one of the people who's on this call from time to time, um, sent me an email, and they're talking about a meeting they had been to where they were talking about something that a religious leader they know was doing. And I read the email a couple of times, wondering why she sent it to me. And then I realized that I was the religious leader that she had sent that to, that she was talking about in the email. And I don't think of myself as a religious leader. And in fact, I've been fairly careful about um, distancing myself and disassociating from what I call religion. I honor all religions. I respect all religions, but I incorporate all religions into my own personal practices, but I don't think of myself as a religionist. And I recognize that I keep a very careful um, focus on what I am not. I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not that, I'm not that. And so, having said that, what am I? Okay. And all the stuff, I'm probably not that stuff either. Okay. And so, what would I say about myself? And what would I say about our nascent movement, the movement that we are literally creating by our every breath that we take. Um, so that got us into uh, the dangers and maybe some of the benefits of having an identification, and um, we then kind of went from there. And I'm going to invite Ilarion to talk about that, about the whole notion of identification and what you're identifying with and what you are not identifying with at this point. So if you want to join in at this point, that would be good.
Okay, on one. Kamala Kamna Kamala Kasuda. I said, hello, my other self, and that the evening tastes good. That's the way my people we don't call ourselves Aleut, but we're Unungan, the people by the sea, and we've been in the Bering Sea for over 10,000 years, and we're still there. I was wondering if maybe all the people who have joined us, let's give an opportunity for them to do a check-in. That's how I usually start my sessions, is we do a check-in to see how everybody's doing. So is that okay, Sharif?
Number one, it's okay with me. Number two, um, one of the things that would help me is if everybody's in agreement with that, I call on you because I have an alphabetical list here, and that will let me get you spotlit in your check-in. And that means that everybody's thumbs up and yes, okay, smiling, etc. Um, a couple of you didn't, so I'm gonna call on you anyway. And so the first on my list is Angie, and so Angie, if you wanna do a check-in, that would be good. Try unmuting yourself. That
Yes.
you can check in a lot better that way.
Number one, unmute. I'm doing okay. I'm kind of hanging in there with putting lots of little fires out as they occur. People in my extended friend and family grouping. There seems to be a lot of little fires erupting here and there, so I'm carrying a lot of water and trying to do what I can to help people. And I'm grateful that I'm not getting hit hard myself, so I'm happy to be whatever help I can be to the people that I can see are getting worked, shall we say. But otherwise I'm good.
Very good. Neat. Um, and next on my list is Becky. So Becky, if you want to unmute yourself and
There I am.
yeah, there you am.
Yeah, this was an interesting day. It's what we call an upside down day. So it was warmer. Actually, it was last night going in, it was warmer at midnight, and then it kept dropping, dropping, dropping all day. So it was sort of abrupt, like, oh, we've suddenly had the season change as it was quite cold today. Didn't quite get a frost. I don't know how I dodged it, but it was crazy windy. So I was like, whoa, I'm not quite ready for this. Even though I'm thinking, but it is November, so it shouldn't be that surprising. Um, so last week we had the time change, and then this week it's like, oh, it finally decided to be more like halfway to winter officially. Um, so it's been a strange day because I kept looking out the window going, there isn't any snow. No, no, it's just leaves flying around. So, and then I also was excited because I felt a little rebellious. I rake the leaves that go into the street onto my yard. You know, everybody else just rakes the leaves to get scooped up and taken somewhere else. And I'm like, just grabbing them and putting them on my yard. You know, I use them as mulch. And I managed to get out there and scrape the last bit of them before they came and started scooping them up. So I was like, yay. I did that yesterday before because I knew the crazy winds were coming today. So I was like, all right, I managed to do it, even though my neighbors think I'm nuts. But
They scoop they put the leaves out in the street and then they pay money for mulch. So yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you're the crazy one.
yeah, yeah. I get an actual rake.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you. And next on my hit list is Greg Burrell. And if you want to add your spotlight.
Okay. Um, I am having an interesting day. It's a holiday, so I didn't have to teach today, and it was a beautiful afternoon. So I'm just getting to the point of the year where I have to unretire myself. So I'm retired without enough income to be fully retired. So I just started getting up at 5 a.m. so that I can work out before being at work at 8 o'clock. I'm a substitute teacher and jobs are very hard to get. I was a little distracted during the meditation because I was refreshing the job button every 5 or 10 seconds. And even doing that, I didn't get one job. Someone got it before me, even though I was there within less than 5 seconds of it being posted. But I now have a job and I can devote my full attention to being with us.
Very good. Very good. And double G Greg Ganshaw. I don't know if you want to unmute yourself and or even make yourself visible. Here he comes. Here he be.
Here I am.
Okay, there you go. And I'm
I
not
don't get a chance to join the evening crew. I'm here in St. Louis, so the timing gets a little difficult, but I'm glad to be joining you tonight and looking forward to exchanging information and learning and growing.
well, and that's what he looks like. The but good to have you here in at least voice. And the next up is going to be Jenna. And I am going to spotlight you and what's happening with you.
Um, I'm enjoying what's been speaking from within the last 4 to 6 weeks is the need to stop pushing myself. All my life, I've been good at pushing myself. People ask me how I am, and I'll say, I'm the ever ready bunny. And, just going. And what I've been hearing from within is it's time to simplify. It's time to stop pushing. It's time to be in a state of harmony and greater awareness of being present in life and still do what I'm called to do, but from a different orientation, I'll say. And it's feeling good. My sleep cycle is adjusting, and the surgery I had on my right eye is healing very well, and the other eye is scheduled in December. And so I'm living with mismatched eyes right now, which is an interesting, whenever something happens that's unusual, I say to myself, oh, another adventure in greater resilience. So that's where I am. Thank you.
Very cool. And last but not least is Linda, and you have been
going in and out.
zooming in and out here. And let
Yeah,
me,
we've been having electric problems that started just before this started, but it's on now, but I could disappear at any time.
isn't that true for all of us?
Well, that's true, literally. I'm also trying to recover from some kind of allergy. I don't know what it is, but it's taken over my life the last couple of days, but that's getting better. On the whole, my life is pretty good, but in Mexico at this time, things get a little frenetic. We've been through the Day of the Dead and everything else. So I'm trying to get back to a common, normal, everyday life where I'm not running around all of the time and celebrating this and celebrating that. Actually, we do not do a time change here. And I can't tell you how wonderful that is, not to mess with the time. That, the sun rises when it rises and it goes down when it goes down, and we don't have to change our clocks. So I realized when they started this a couple of years ago that it really makes a huge difference in our life when we try to mess with time and try to control time. And it's it's very relaxing not to have to do that.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much where I'm at the moment.
Very cool. And I don't know if Ilarian, you get a check-in or not. No, of course you get a check-in. So let's check you in.
Yeah. Well, I welcome all of you to this group, and I have been going through great changes, my own initiation, where Yupik Elder is they live in Southwest Alaska, and she's very revered and respected, and she gave me my rite of passage into elderhood. And I'm now 76 years old, and I didn't know what I was asking for. I knew that it would be changes, but I didn't expect the kind of changes that are happening to me now. It's the universe's way of, reminding us that we don't control anything. And, in listening to everybody, we all are going through something or another, more so than any other time than that we have been alive. And certainly I am going through that. And it brings me to thinking about how Mother Earth, I work with a group of elders from around the world in the Wisdom Weavers of the world. And we are going to have a gathering of our elders, spiritual elders, in January. And, they say Mother Earth, she has survived for billions of years, and she's going to survive for billions more. she really doesn't need us, but she needs us to wake up to be real human beings, which means to me being present in the moment and in the heart. And allow yourself to, and myself to let go of all my attachments. And then I can be of service to Mother Earth and all the living things that are in existence and even the universe. This is part of the realization I'm getting from my rite of passage is cooking through me now. And I am absorbing what it is, but my gosh, I'm being flooded with information that I guess I'm supposed to share. And one of those is that what letting go really means. My people have a history of being present in the moment and in the heart, setting their intention as long as it's in harmony with all that is. And they let go. And they never planned where they're going to get their food the next day. And during that time, of course, knowing that is very important. But my people are one of, I don't know if any other culture in Alaska has had the same thing, but they literally did not plan anything. And that means, for people who are concerned about planning, you plan in order for the others not to suffer. But my people didn't do that. And they were just very, very spiritual. And so when they went out hunting or fishing, they would just simply be present in the moment and in the heart and set their intention that is in harmony with all that is. That's our definition of the real human being. And as a result of that, we developed the most densely populated linear mile of shoreline in all of North America for our time. That was the result of them being present in the moment and in the heart, setting their intention. And now we live in a world that plans everything. And it's opposite of the way that the real human beings are. I'm really beginning to soak that into myself. That we need to, or I need to, surrender everything that I am. And whatever happens, happens, and I need to accept that it's a sacred gift that is given to each of us if we allow it to happen. And the things that I'm beginning to see, like, for example, we have lived in civilizations prior to us. There were 3 other civilizations that got destroyed. And the last one was destroyed by water around the world, flooding and covering up everything. And now we're in the 4th world. Some people say it's in the 5th world, but it's a different world, and it's our world, and we're moving into the 5th world. And it's calling us to wake up because humans, it's a question about whether or not we humans are going to survive in this time during our lifetime. And when we wake up, we'll begin to realize what our gifts are to give to the world at this particular point in time. We're spirit beings in human form. And this human form has allowed us, I feel, to accept the illusions that are around us every day in all of life. So, for example, story of Genesis, for those of you who follow the Christian path, the story of Genesis is when God tells Adam and Eve, you can live here and be who you are, but just don't partake of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But they did. And so what happened is that we accepted duality as the reason, as the rule of the existence that we have. And when in reality, we unify the opposites. And we don't, for example, think about good and evil. We bring those two together in unity, where the darkness serves a purpose that is in divine alignment with the light. And now we have split. So we have up, down, right, left, good, bad, good, evil, all these splits that we have created in ourselves. And when we split like that, it's easy to split from somebody else, easy to split from your community, easy to split from whatever it is. Everything that we are creating in this rule of duality that we live in now is everywhere. We created nation states, for example. We have boundaries around our countries. We do things in separate ways that we don't, and I don't, realize fully that we are one, and we're literally one. I use the example, I was talking to a group of ministers at one point in time, and I said, take a kitchen rubber glove, blow it up, and these fingers think they're human when they're only one breath. And that's who we are, that's how all of existence goes. You know, Sharif, you put on this meditation. I really appreciate that because I have missed group meditation. Here in Homer, Alaska, I did a Google search for meditation groups in Homer, and I find none. There are classes in meditation, but no groups that are doing meditation. And that's very unfortunate because I want to join a group with meditation. Now, this is, Sharif, the first group that I have joined where you give this meditation, and the meditation guidelines that you provide are right on. We are everything, and we live beyond this illusion. We are all perfect. That's what I realize. We are all perfect. You're all on a sacred path. And this sacred path, you must honor yourself, not me, not anybody else. And we give ourselves labels. We put ourselves down most of that. I did put myself down at times. And that put down is an illusion, because we are already perfect, because we are spirit beings in human form. And I'm beginning to see what these spirit beings are and the way that they exist. And it helps me to understand what changes are coming in the fifth world if we wake up in time. Changes like, even amongst Native Americans, we have separation. I went down to Lakota territory last year, and they have protocols and rules to protect their women. And at the time of violation of women, those rules were necessary. So they developed rules like, we don't want women to make themselves visible because they'll be visible to the colonizing world. And we don't want them to drum. We don't want them to publicly speak. We don't want them to smudge people with their smudges, anything that would single them out. But now in the fifth world, principles or guidelines or whatever it is that you can call it, that's got to go. It's a point of separation. And tribes, we have to change our definition of tribes. The Hopi Maori, they say, let go of the sides of the riverbank, move toward the center of the river of life because it knows where it's going. We don't. And it's also the center in your heart. And then they said, find those who have done the same and celebrate. Now, what that means is letting go of the sides of the riverbank is we have to have the courage to let go of all these things that we exist in now because they're illusions, and go towards the river of life because it knows where it's going and we don't. And find those who have done the same as find those who have had the courage, like you did, to jump, to let go of everything. And that's really the essence of where we're going. I think nation states are going to dissolve eventually. And all these things that we think of through duality about this person is good, that person is bad, evil is no good, we got to kill evil. And we've, all these things that our ego tells us to do has got to go, because we are coming into a time of no separation. And what that means is that all of us are going to feel that we are in fact one. And that when we die, the death is an illusion too. My mother taught me that we cry when a baby's born, and we celebrate when they die. Why? Well, because we are free form when we're spirit beings. Then we come into human form, and we create these definitions through these labels that we use of this is my child, when in fact that child is a spirit being that chose to be here in that body at this time. And when a person dies, we celebrate because we go back to our free form. It's not death of who we are. It's death of the physical being that we became. And then we will be light beings. And so what Sharif and I talked about is that there are no singular gurus anymore at this point in time. We are
Before you go there, I wanted to add one point to what you said earlier, and then I was going to introduce that concept, if I may. And the one point was, you're talking about no nations anymore. Right now, uh, China is trying to build the biggest dam in the world. They've already built the biggest dam. They're going to build one bigger on a bigger and wilder river. And it's right on the border of India. And India is saying, no, you can't put a dam there because we need to dam that river. And so you've got and Bangladesh is saying neither one of you should be damming that river because we need that water. And because of the illusion of these countries, they may go to war because of the illusion, not for any other reason. If they all just said, okay, we've got this huge water source here. It can support anyone and everyone. Let's sit down and figure out the best thing that needs to happen here. They could solve it in 10 seconds, but you can't solve it as long as I have to have my way. And the Indians are saying, the people in India are saying, I got to have it my way, and I got nuclear weapons. We got nuclear weapons. And that's going to be a mess. Um, but in terms of uh, yeah, one of the things, Larry, you and I talked about was you used the phrase living in the present moment, living in the heart, letting go of attachments, and how living that way can be a sign of the true human being, but it also can be something that turns into be separating, which is guru-like energy. And you may want to say some more about that.
Yeah, I do. uh, you know, I say that there are no more singular gurus. We are all gurus now, and the answers are in our hearts. And I got a call from a friend of mine a couple of days ago. She had just been at a very spiritual conference of many people, many indigenous and non-indigenous people in South Africa. And she said she met a guru there. And I thought, well, okay, that's what she is seeing, but labels such as guru or some kind of mystical soul is very limiting. My people grew up or went through life with very few words because words may be superfluous or very dangerous. And they said, when you experience something, it could be about who you are or whatever it is, you're experiencing something, don't talk about it. It will diminish your experience. You can talk about it later, but not when you're experiencing it. And if it results in creating labels, that's another form of separation. And so, gurus, we are all gurus. And no matter what we encounter, my friend said she felt like she was not good enough to have all of his attention during the time she was at the conference. And I understand that. And I told her, you know that we are all mirrors of each other. Every one of us are mirrors that mirror back to us what we need to pay attention to. And the guru that you met is a mirror of who you are. And it's not that you are less in any way. He had an advantage of being in a culture that gave him the opportunity to advance spiritually, and you didn't have that advantage, but you are a guru, and you must understand that because at this time we chose to be here on Mother Earth. It's no accident that we're all here. And every person in the world carries a gift to give to Mother Earth and to all creation. If we just simply let go and go into our hearts, to have the courage to go to your heart and be present in the moment. So understanding that if you set intentions that are in harmony with all that is, then you let go, the prayers are always answered. We don't see that because we don't practice it. And so I pray that you all understand that you are perfect and whole as you are. And that's who you really are inside, very deep, that may go past many lifetimes, whatever it is, that it's we chose to be here for this purpose of moving into the fifth world. And we need to contemplate how much courage that this is going to take, because you must first let go of everything. And if that happens, you don't know what your heart is going to tell you to do. The heart always guides us, in my experience, perfectly. It has love, it has compassion, it has understanding, it has patience, all these things that we strive for as human beings. But very few people go to their hearts for the answers. The heart is the only place that is in connection with the divine. It's not there in the past or the future. It's here now. And if we dwell in the past due to guilt, shame, remorse, anger, rage, jealousy, all these things that are created by the past traumas that we've had, or we project into the future of something that hasn't happened yet, we are every place except now. And I pray that as many human beings as possible can find their hearts and listen to their hearts. Traditionally, the heart used to tell the mind what to do. Now the mind tells the heart what to do. And traditionally, the mind job is to implement that which your heart is telling you. So that's the truth.
Yeah, one of the things that we know when we're doing the catalyst meditation, when we talk about blending our energies, we talk about blending, putting ourselves in perfect health, harmony, and balance with each other and with Mother Earth. When I go through the list, when I'm saying we're in perfect physical health, harmony, and balance, I hear that. And then I start, well, my back hurts a little bit today, or my left foot is acting up, and then I bring my concentration there that it is in physical health, harmony, and balance. And then I'm in emotional health, harmony, and balance. I'm in relational health. And each time we go through that list in the meditation, we pull each other into a better sense of harmony and a better sense of relation and a better mind, etc. And when we're out of it, we remind ourselves to come back. Okay. One of my teachers said, and this is a very early on in my education, my spiritual education. She said, "There's only one rule, and that is for you to stay centered. And there's another rule that says, when you ignore that first rule, get back to your center. Okay, that's it. And once you're centered, you'll know what to do. And if you're not centered, you can have all the facts, you can have all the book learning, you can have all the power in the world, and you're pretty much certain that you're going to do the wrong thing. I have been trying to learn that. And I've been trying to get to a deeper understanding of that. With our rite of passage that will be coming up in our very near future next week with our new moon, we'll have an opportunity. Well, we will have the opportunity if we choose to take it to um, get ourselves focused in on our hearts, get ourselves focused in on our various heart energies, our emotional, relational, mental, spiritual energies. And get ourselves focused in on our future, the future of our personal future, our family future. What do we hold for ourselves? Our community's future, and then also the future of our societies, um, our continental future, our global future. Now, focusing on this, and as you know, if you've read Birthing the Nation of Gaia, I've been thinking about that future out to 10,000, I mean, to 1,000 years. I can't handle 10,000 years. It's my brain is not big enough for that, you know. But thinking about what can we do, what can human beings do if we are focused over the next 50 years, the next 100 years, the next 500 years, the next 1,000 years. Well, one of the things that we can do, for example, is end poverty in the world. No human being and no other being experiences poverty, has an experience of there being lack, of there's not enough in the world. In the world that exists right now, the idea that there's some people with millions, billions, and now trillions of dollars, and other beings that sleep literally on the same street that they're walking on, okay, is morally bankrupt and actually evil. How long, if we applied ourselves, how long would it take for us to get rid of poverty? Making the assumption that we don't need any more bombers, we don't need any more nuclear weapons, we don't need any more aircraft carriers, we need none of that stuff because we don't need to be holding each other as separate. I think that by taking the world's military might and applying it to eliminating poverty, we could probably eliminate it in 2 or 3 years. And then what do we do? And so our challenge is how do we structure what our values are? In our society right now, we spend amazing amounts of time talking about and spending time bringing about travel to Mars as though we as a society sat down, talked about it, and this is all the societies of the world said, yes, let's apply ourselves to getting to Mars. And we know the exact opposite has happened. We haven't spent a second, not 1 second, talking about whether or not we should be focusing on travel to Mars. The only thing is some rich guy thinks this is a good idea, and all the news media is going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who sleep on the streets and don't have enough food to eat. We're going to talk about getting to Mars. And so that 20 people, maybe 20 people, maybe only 10 or 15 people walk around on Mars for a couple of days and come back. We need to engage ourselves on what's important in life. And by asking ourselves that question, and by listening to ourselves talk about it, we'll begin to see what's important. But that, in order to do that, that means that you and you and you and you and you and you have to turn off the television set. You've got to turn off the news. The news is someone's opinion, and the news is someone's opinion about what they think is important. We need to think of something else as important. So right now, I'm going to ask us right now, what is important? Okay. What do you think is the vision for humanity at the beginning of the 21st century? And Larian, you want to say something here?
Yeah.
And I'm going to.
I am advocating for just simply being present in the moment, go to the heart, and that's where you set your intention after you let everything go. So we don't need to decide what it is that, because we are all humans stuck in this indoctrinated form of living, and we cannot see what is, what can be. And we just have to trust in ourselves and in our hearts, which is connected to the divine. We will be given the information that we each need for this time. So with that, I think that we should go to the talks and give everybody a chance to say something.
Yes, but I'm going to push back on what you just said. And one of the things I think is really valuable is that we can push back at each other without becoming disagreeable yet. Okay, I got all the buttons on my side. And I don't think this is much of a disagreement. I it just so happened last night, Greg Burrell and I had an experience. We had a very impromptu meeting at a coffee house. And at the coffee house, we the coffee house closed at 5 o'clock, so we had to get out. And as we were leaving, there was a woman who has been in the coffee house also, and she was leaving, and I knew her, so we were walking and talking. And I said, "How are you doing today?" And her face just dropped, like something really terrible had happened. And now I was like, what's wrong? And she just basically says, what's right? Kind of look at what's going on around us. And I said, well, it depends on how you look at that. I said, we can look at it like the earth is being destroyed and we're all doomed, etc. Or we can look at it as though we are pregnant and we're pregnant with a new society. And just like we're pregnant with a new society, all the things that we see going on right now are labor pains. And these labor pains are what happens before the baby is born. And so the question is, what is the societal baby that needs to be born? And we can focus ourselves on that. And, Greg, if I am exaggerating, you can straighten me out here, but she came back alive. I mean, she was like, yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Like there is something, of course, there's something going on. For those of us who have had even indirect experience with childbirth, it's a trip. There's all sorts of stuff happening. There's pain, there's bleeding, there's gushing, there's all sorts of stuff happening. And then you get a baby out of it, which is really cool.
Okay.
And so,
I,
but
I agree with much of what you said, and I would like for everyone to think about this. We don't know what that baby is, how it's going to turn out, what its personality is, and anything about that. And so we have to allow that to happen and feel the pain, yes, and just let go. And, I don't feel like even the most state of the art technology, the state of the art thinking is nothing but the old regurgitated as new. So if we come up with our minds to come up with something, it's going to be that. And I'll just give you one quick example. When the US converted to hybrid fuels, then many of the world's farmers converted the same way to get more money, and it resulted in less food in the world and starvation and higher costs. That's an example of what we call state of the art thinking. And you can come up with any other examples. But anyway, let's get to our talks.
well, before that, you are absolutely correct. If we continue to think from the point of view of me being an isolated individual with breaker consciousness that says the most important thing is to make more money, and that consciousness is the challenge. We are not fighting. We are uh, exchanging that consciousness for the consciousness of we are one, and we are one beyond even human beings. We're one with all living beings. And from that, I can see um, the way of the human being. And before we go any further in what we are saying, I am going to throw us in gallery mode, and we are going to look at whether any hands are going up and wants to join this conversation. Um, and right now, everybody's saying, I'm not getting in there, except for Greg. Greg is willing to jump in. And before I call on Greg, if there's anybody else that wants to say anything, let's get some folks lined up so that we can do that. But Greg, go for it.
Okay. It's so interesting listening to the two of you talk about what the next step looks like. And I'm going to say that I prefer Sharif's caterpillar butterfly metaphor, right? Because the way it looks to me is we are inside the chrysalis, the caterpillar is dissolving into goo, and what is mine to do is to be an imaginal cell in the creation of this butterfly culture, right? I don't have marching orders necessarily, but I know that it's all about love, it's all about kindness, it's all about looking for the next good thing to do. Like Sharif and I had a moment with a woman and just changed her view. That's what I try and do as I go through life. But I also remember that I could just be some of the goo, right? So I I'm attracted to the process of being an imaginal cell, not the outcome, the reward. And so I spend lots of time in groups like this where we're all trying to figure out what's the next right thing to do, what is going to have a beneficial effect. And I love, Valerian, the way you say just live in the present, because it's what's happening right now is the reality that I have to do the next right thing in.
And on that note, I see Jenna has her digital hand up. If there are any other digital hand, oh, and Linda is waving her meat hand around. So Jenna first and then Linda.
I've been on this track for several decades, just me personally. I've rarely found other people on the same track. So it feels good to have a group as small as we are. I used to know people in the DC area who invented and sponsored an annual event, Prayer Vigil for the Earth. It was held every late September on the center of the mall in Washington, D.C., in the Smithsonian area, where they had to be permitted by the D.C. Park Police. And it was a fairly free-flowing event. The whole idea was starting on Friday night. It was with nonstop drumming and nonstop prayers from Friday night until Sunday afternoon. And it drew in people, Native Americans and people from all cultures, all spiritualities during that time, and people who just happened by. They happened to be on the mall that day. And even though we weren't technically permitted to sleep on the mall, I guess that's sort of breaking laws. There were legit teepees there, and some of us were able to sleep over there without being bothered. There was a moment where some Arab-appearing people were walking down 17th Street from up by the White House down to the mall. And suddenly, like Secret Service people were following them and catching up with them. And somehow word got up to this gathering, and it was very fascinating what happened. There was a rabbi there and an important Native American elder who went down to talk to the Secret Service police in favor of these people who were apparently Sikhs or Muslim or whatever. And it was always that type of thing that was happening. To have a rabbi go down and speak and support and say, these people are welcome. They're just, they're welcome to come to our event. was pretty astonishing. And that flowed into just a total changeover of what was happening in that moment in the event. And there was such a healing and such a sudden presence of oneness, of being together and support for each other without focus on difference, without focus on various perspectives of life or politics and so forth. And it was a magical moment, but every year something of that was happening. And it was interesting too, because they knew from the beginning, this is not about head count. It's not about how big we become. It's about the sincerity of it and just doing this. And then there came a time where people started moving away and so forth, and it ceased to continue. The other thing I wanted to share, let's see, what was it I was going to say? Please come back. The other thing, oh, I know what it was I was going to say. Over 20 years ago, I woke up one morning and I had the complete concept of a very unique book. And I understood that it felt like a calling because it had nothing to do with my background. It would be like a cotton candy maker was called to write a book on quantum physics, right? And it has to do with water. And most of my life, I've had this little, it's not really a game, but it's this practice that I have, that I'm always wondering about water and where it is and where it's flowing and what it's doing. And for me, water is a metaphor for oneness. And that's something that I'm now working on writing finally. And the website I'm building, Sharif, has to do with support for this. What I find is over the last few years, I had heard, for example, if you're a first-time author, it's almost impossible to get for a publisher to pick you up unless you have a social media following of between 30 to 50,000 people. And so that sort of put me in pause. And I thought, if I write the book first, you can't just snap and suddenly have 50,000 people following you. That takes a while to build that presence. So I detoured to look into, what are the online ways of having presence? What are the online ways of promoting your work and creating workshops and that sort of thing? And every scenario was about high ticket sales. And, how can you create, a mastermind or a workshop and sell it for huge amounts of money? And there's this part of me that just sort of goes, oh, that's not my thing. And I've been in settings where I've said, that's not my priority. And they're all sort of like, what? And I said, for me, this is a legacy. It's something that I've been called to do. Yes, I would like to receive for what I'm investing to do this, but it's not my number one priority. And it's just been so amazing. There's some people who are striving for those big dollars. And when I've said this, they've paused and they've cheered me. And then others just, are like, oh, she's wacko, So it's been an interesting journey of many years. And I'm still on it, still every day trying to coach myself out of duality. And, I'm hearing so many people saying this is coming and it's coming quickly and it's got to be a massive change. massive change typically doesn't happen that quickly. And so that's the question mark I'm always putting out to the universe. How does this unfold? And I'll stop there. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, that's, I applaud you for pursuing your own heart in doing what you're doing. That's, you're well on your way.
Okay, so I've got Linda and then I've got Angie, and I don't know if there's anybody else that wants to get in queue here. I'm not seeing more digital or more meat hands going up. So, Linda.
Okay, I just want to say that one thing that's happened for me throughout life is that the worst experiences I've had have led me to the most blessed times in my life. And it's when I finally said, okay, I can't control this. I give up. You take over. That suddenly miracles happened and everything fell into place. So I'm trying to look at this experience we're all going through as what's needed in order to help us let go of trying to control everything so that we can move into where we're supposed to flow. That's basically all I have to say.
Cool. There's a Rumi quote that says, in the times when I thought I was in control, I lamented the times when I wasn't. But now that I've given control up, I can see things as they really are, or something like that. Angie, make sure you unmute yourself. That helps a lot.
Yes. I found that I just have to be willing to love, support, and serve, and that as long as I'm willing to do that, the universe and God sends me all kinds of little projects, big and small. People come in, people go out, people stay a while, some people stay a long time. I mean, it's like it's a kaleidoscope of things, but that as long as I'm willing and stay open, that then that I don't have to look for anything to do. It all comes to my doorway or my telephone. So that's kind of how I approach service, is just to just be willing and do what I can do, whatever, to help whoever I can. And sometimes there's not a lot except to just be there and comfort and do the best that at least people don't have to face a difficult situation alone. So just sometimes hand holding is the only thing you can really do, but then at least they're not in a bad situation by themselves. So and when I think about the future, I just sort of I just like to look at the networking, that the more of us that are open to moving things forward, and there's lots of people and lots of groups, that there's a lot of us working together with this, lots of different flavors, but that's just part of the tapestry of life, is that God knows what we have to give, and he brings us people that need that, and so he brings us together. And it just takes your willingness, is what I found. And as that gets bigger and bigger and bigger, more and more and more, is kind of how, I think we are being led into the new stuff. I mean, it is manifesting. It's just it's on a smaller scale. It will extend, it will grow. It's kind of like I don't even worry about where it's going anymore, because when you're part of the change, when you're part of the butterfly, then that's the motion that's the motion that's carrying us. So and with all that, I find I don't worry too much about the future that much, because there's one of my practices, there's a whole prayer about. For some reason, my computer likes to turn off my camera still. There's a whole prayer that starts with "As long as you are with me," and it's instructions. It's not instructions, but basically it says, it's like, as long as you are with me, you'll be protected, you'll be guided. You'll know God, you'll know the truth, you'll be able to discern good from evil. I mean, it's like 5 pages, But in my other prayer group, we read that every day, and it's a very good reminder that, as long as you're close to God, that, God will take care of you, and whatever happens that isn't necessarily fun is where your lesson is, so that's just sort of how I look at it. So.
So Esther, I see your hand up and I'm not seeing another hand up. So I'm putting my hand up. I'd like to recognize me for a minute, but Esther, you go first.
Okay, well, I'd like to add that Angie also goes out with her friend and gives positive energy to the area around ice. I admire that. Just, giving positive energy where you can. That just really warms my heart. I I don't really like to think about like the future is doomed or anything like that. I mean, it's tempting because there's a lot of things going wrong, but there's also a lot of things going right. And I like to just really focus on, you know, the good things that are happening. And I'm here in this neighborhood, so I look for people around me that I can offer positive energy and a friendly word or just something to maybe uplift their moods and help them to see the world in a better way. I think that networking, I agree with Angie, networking and with people who have like minds or close enough where that you can contribute the same energy, harmonize your energy together to help create. And I like your word holonic, Sherry. The holonic mind of our planet needs a lot of help.
Okay. I had one thing I wanted to say. Now, because of Esther, I got 2 things I want to say. And which one comes first? Let me say something about the positive energy and like mind. I think that in us being polarized, being separated into this group or the other group, we're missing out on this huge well of common energy that we can be tapping into to create to add to our holonic consciousness. There's something it was called Chelsea's Place. It was in McMinnville or someplace like that. And this was an alternative healing situation. And it was, I'd go there, once a month or so and just check out all the different healing modalities. But I'd wind up sitting next to someone. This was before people were wearing red hats that had MAGA on it. But they were they were very basic people, but they were also really, really sick. And for a lot of them, they were in stage 4 something or another. And this was their last hope for something that could cure them. And so as they were sitting there, getting bombarded with such and such arrays or magnetic forces. I mean, they had lots and lots of healing stuff there. You're sitting next to them and you've got something fundamentally in common with them. You've got this notion of healing in common with them. And they needed to, as I'm sitting there, as different from them as I could possibly be, they needed something. They needed to be heard about their dilemma. And a lot of times in the existing healthcare system, the doctors are looking at their spreadsheets and looking at their lab tests and all this other stuff. They're not looking at that person anymore. So I would listen to them, and um, many times I would say, have you tried garlic? Have you tried such and such? Have you tried such and such? And having a conversation about that, I became a human being. They started seeing me as, oh, wait, this is somebody who's actually concerned about me. They could start changing the way they were seeing the world just by sharing this one aspect of their healing. And we can do something about creating opportunities for that to happen. I wind up seeing these people over a couple of months. And so when I come back, it's nobody remembers my name, of course, but oh yeah, how's it going? And yeah, I'm feeling better, and so there's always common ground available. We just have to find it, and we may have to look a little deeper than normal to find it. Second thing, and I want to show you a picture. It's one of the places I hang out when I have time and energy to hang out is the island of Bali. Um, and yep, the entire island is this beautiful. It's really amazing. But what's in the distance there is Mount Agnan. And Mount Agnan is a volcano. And the last time I was there, Mount Agnan looked like that. Okay. It was in full eruption. There was this stuff they call it cold lava coming down from the mountains. They had moved like 10,000 people. People are living on the sides of the volcano, and they'd moved about 10,000 people off of the volcano because they said that all the geologists said this is not the main eruption. This thing is going to blow its top. And all the Westerners are, oh, run for the hills. No, don't run for the hills. Get us out of here. And the but they let 6 holy people go, the military folks let them go up on the mountain and spend the night on the mountain. And they came back and they said, we talked to the volcano last night and asked the volcano to be gentle. And they said the volcano agreed to not erupt now. That it's going to delay the eruption into 2032, I think they said. 2032 or 2034, somewhere in there. And they said that eruption is going to be 10 times more than was supposed to happen this time. But you've got 10 years to get your act together. So this eruption is going to stop, and it's going to wait until 2032, and then it's going to come back. So you've got, I think this is 2019. So you've got some years to move 10,000 people off this mountain. Okay. So immediately the Westerners said, ha ha ha, 6 guys go up a mountain and said they talked to a mountain. They're probably just drunk or high or whatever. And you can't talk to a volcano. It's in that it's not conscious. You can't do that kind of stuff, etc. Now, all the Balinese said to the guy, thank you very much, and we can go home soon. And the mountain stopped erupting. It simply stopped. No more cold lava coming down the hills. Peaceful and calm again. And the geologists had, well, you can't explain it. The all the Westerners that were catching flights out were trying to figure out how to get their flights back now. And now we, not the Balinese government, because they will do nothing, because they don't believe that you can talk to a mountain. But we, who know that that is possible, have another, what, 7 years to do what we know is coming, and we know it's coming because the mountain said it's coming. And moving 10,000 people over 7 years is not a really big task unless you ignore it for 6.5 years and then go running around like a chicken with its head cut off. Oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And so that is the kind of thing I believe that we have to plan for and prepare for in concert with our mother, the earth, and the things that we can ask her, what do you want us to do? You know, do you want us to stop the eruption? Of course, you can't do that. I mean, like, look at what you can actually do, but can we act like, yeah, so first of all, say thank you for not erupting at this point, and we will use the 10 years that we got from you wisely. And we're going to use it wisely by planning and moving so that when Mount Agnon goes off, we treat it as a photo opportunity and not a human disaster. Jenna.
I'm not going to go into details, but I do know it is possible to talk to nature beings, to talk to water beings. I know of someone who's a water shaman, and in my spiritual training of healing and working with situations through consciousness, there have been times where things came about from a conscious connection. And I think there are ways of doing it and ways of not doing it, but I know it's possible.
Yeah.
There was a situation, I think it was like 1999, here on the Mid-Atlantic, in which the water table was very low. It had been a long drought. And the Baltimore, Washington, D.C. area, it's sort of like all one huge metropolitan area. At this point, it's over 10 million people. And either a weathercaster or a news person quipped one evening on the news and said, what we need is 3 hurricanes to come up the Atlantic coast this summer. And, that's what it'll take to bring up our water table again. And as soon as I heard it, I thought, this is insanity. There's so much damage and turmoil that happens with hurricanes. And you just sent this huge invitation, right? And within a day or two, it was viral. And back at that time, that was viral before we knew what viral meant. And everybody was repeating it. We need 3 hurricanes coming up the coast. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. And so I suggested that a few people, that we all just do some prayer work around it. That there are other ways that the water tables could be reset, much more gentle without all the damage and chaos and so forth. And we didn't have the extent of mind of, an area with 10 million people believing this is what was needed. But there were several hurricanes that formed that year, came up the coast, because a lot of times they don't come up the coast our way. And they just parked themselves out in the Atlantic Ocean and bathed us in days of continuous gentle rain. But the rest of the population couldn't think about another alternative and go into that place of intention for the well-being of everybody.
Yep.
It's not that we were trying to control the earth. It's just, can there be another way, like you said with volcano, that's more gentle? It's possible.
So I want to recognize that we're at the top of the hour. We are time for us to wrap up. I don't know if there are any last words of wisdom that are ours to say. I'm inviting Ilarion to make some final comments if he wishes.
Yeah, thank you, Sharif. What Jenna says is very true. And, I have seen what many would characterize as miracles from tribes around the world that still hold on to the original instructions which were given to us. And I tell you, they are miracles by any standard. But for those of you who follow the Christian path, Jesus had, we call Jesus a universal enlightened being. And he said this, he was performing all these miracles. And he told the crowd, this you can do too.
Mm-hmm.
And that if we just go along the path of a real human being in harmony with all that is, we can do that. And it requires a faith, I feel, that is more than just faith created by our minds. It's faith that is embodied at the cellular level of our bodies, that we set the intention that is, as long as it's in alignment with all that is, it will be manifest. And, we can do this. If we don't believe anymore, I don't believe a thing, because a belief is a borrowed concept from somebody else. And you have to experience it yourself.
Yeah. So
thank you all for being here and listening to us and for sharing. There's lots of wisdom in this room.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ilarion, for once again enriching our process here. remember what the process is from now. We're going to be doing some concrete instructions on how I am going to spend our new moon celebration, our new moon ceremony, our new moon rite of passage for our next Tuesday. And then the following Tuesday, we are going to analyze what did we do? Um, how did we do it? What were the intentions that got set, etc. So that's going to be the next couple of Tuesdays. Um, I yeah, good.
The elders that I work with from around the world, they say the most unselfish thing that we can do now is to heal ourselves. And I think that this is very true. So the next journey we have, think about how when you go through your rite of passage, how deserving you feel of doing that rite of passage, and whether or not you have the kind of courage that's going to require for you to go through this rite of passage, because it's going to really throw you off when you experience it. Is you're going to experience your pains, everything else that you have invited by choosing to go through a rite of passage. And think about whether or not you have the courage to go through that in order to be to know who you are. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, so and the process of knowing who you are is the easiest thing you possibly can do. And paradoxically, it's the hardest thing that you possibly can do. So welcome to the next step. Um, so I will get this video processed as soon as possible. It may even be available later on tonight. Um, and for those of you who are on the daily call, I will see you fresh and early in the morning. For those of you who are on the Thursday morning call, I'll see you fresh and early on Thursday morning. And I look forward to seeing everybody next Tuesday when we are gonna do the elements of the rite of passage that would take place the next day. Okay, thank you so much for attending. Good conversations. Look forward to connecting with us in the future. Talk to you at another point in time. May all beings be well. May all beings be secure, and may all beings be happy. Thank you. Bye. See you.